You want to know the easiest person in the world to lie to? Yourself. And you've been doing it for years. But today, we're going to stand in front of the one person who can't be fooled, the mirror, and see what real leadership is made of. When we talk about leadership, most people imagine giving orders, making big decisions, or standing on a stage in front of a crowd. But the truth is, none of that means anything if the person leading hasn't taken a hard, honest look at themselves first. The mirror is where leadership really begins. It's not about what's out there. It's about what's in here. A leader who can't face their own flaws, habits, and mindset will always end up leading from a place of weakness. Before you can inspire anyone else, you have to know exactly you are, where you stand, and what you're willing to do to grow. The mirror doesn't lie. It shows you the truth without sugarcoating it, without caring about your feelings, without covering up your mistakes. That's why so many people avoid it, not because they can't find a mirror, but because they can't handle what it shows them. Real leaders, the ones who make an impact, don't hide from that reflection. They look right into it and take ownership of everything they see. They understand that if something isn't right in the way they lead, it's not the fault of the people around them. It's a reflection of the person staring back at them. The mirror strips away excuses. You can't point the finger at the economy, the market, the team, or bad luck when you're looking straight at the one person who makes the final call. That's the kind of accountability that separates someone who just wears the title of leader from someone who actually lives it. When you start with the mirror, you give yourself the chance to fix the real issues instead of wasting time blaming surface problems. If you're inconsistent, the mirror will show it. If you've let your standards drop, it will show that too. But here's the power in it. Once you see it, you can change it. Leadership becomes real when it's rooted in self-awareness and the willingness to grow. The mirror is the checkpoint, the starting line, the reality check that keeps you from drifting into denial. Every time you face it, you get the opportunity to lead from a place of strength instead of pretense. And that's where transformation begins for both you and everyone who follows you. Self-accountability is the foundation that every true leader stands on. Before they can ask more from their team, they first demand more from themselves. It's easy to point out the flaws in others, to see where someone else is falling short. But the harder and more valuable work is to evaluate your own discipline, your own habits, and your own consistency. A leader who avoids self-accountability is like a coach blaming the players for losing a game they didn't prepare them for. Real leaders own their results, whether they're wins or losses, because they understand that their personal standards set the tone for everyone they influence. When a leader operates from self-accountability, they stop playing the victim. They no longer use circumstances, distractions, or the behavior of others as an excuse for their own performance. Instead, they focus on controlling what they can control: their preparation, their decisions, their effort, and their attitude. They measure themselves by the same or even higher standards they set for the people they lead. If they expect commitment from others, they show commitment first. If they want excellence, they demonstrate excellence through their actions, not just their words. This kind of leadership is powerful because it creates trust. People are far more willing to follow someone who holds themselves to the same rules they expect from others. Self-accountability builds credibility, and credibility is a leader's currency. Without it, no amount of authority or position will make people truly respect you. It's one thing to talk about discipline and responsibility. It's another to live it so consistently that others can't help but notice. Self-accountability also keeps a leader growing. When you're honest with yourself about where you've fallen short, you create the opportunity to improve. You stop seeing mistakes as failures to hide and start viewing them as lessons to learn. This mindset keeps you humble, adaptable, and hungry to be better. And when a leader is constantly improving, they inspire their team to do the same. Leadership is not about perfection. It's about progress. And progress comes from the courage to admit when you're the one who needs to level up. The moment you take full ownership of your actions and results, you stop waiting for change and start creating it. Blaming external factors is one of the fastest ways to lose control over your life and your leadership. When a leader spends more time pointing at circumstances, other people, or outside events, they give away their power to create change. It's tempting to blame the economy, the market, the competition, or even the team when things don't go as planned, but none of those excuses will move anything forward. The truth is, the only thing you can fully control is yourself, your mindset, your actions, your preparation, and your response to challenges. Leaders who understand this don't waste energy on pointing fingers. They use that energy to find solutions. When you constantly look outward for the reason something failed, you train yourself to believe you're powerless. That mindset spreads quickly to the people you lead, creating a culture where no one takes ownership. On the other hand, leaders who take responsibility, even when the problem wasn't entirely their fault, send a message that accountability is non-negotiable. They ask, what could I have done differently? How can I prepare better next time? What changes can I make to influence the outcome? These questions keep the focus on improvement instead of excuses. Blaming external factors also blinds you to opportunities. While you're busy pointing at what went wrong outside of you, you miss the chance to see what you could adjust inside of you. Conditions may not always be fair, and challenges might come from places you can't control, but leaders who own their part in every situation find ways to adapt and overcome. They don't waste time waiting for things to be perfect. They find a way to win with what they have. This mindset requires humility and courage. It's not easy to admit that your leadership could have been stronger or your strategy sharper, but that's exactly what separates real leaders from those who simply hold the title. The moment you stop blaming the outside world is the moment you regain your power to change your results. Taking ownership isn't about ignoring the reality of obstacles. It's about refusing to let those obstacles dictate your actions or define your success. The leader who looks inward instead of outward will always find a way to move forward, no matter what's happening around them. The mirror is not designed to comfort you. It's designed to show you the truth exactly as it is. That's why it's such a powerful tool for leaders. It doesn't care about your excuses, your intentions, or how hard you tried. It reflects only what actually is. And sometimes that truth is uncomfortable. It reveals the areas where you've fallen short, the moments you got lazy, the times you chose the easy route instead of the right one. It shows you where fear held you back, where discipline slipped, and where you settled for less than you were capable of. Facing that kind of honesty can sting, but it's also the first step toward real growth. Most people avoid the mirror when they know they haven't been given their best, but real leaders run toward it. They understand that avoiding the truth only delays progress. The mirror forces you to confront the gap between who you are and who you want to be. It refuses to let you hide behind titles, past achievements, or other people's approval. The reflection doesn't bend to make you feel better. It holds you accountable to your reality. This process isn't about self-criticism for the sake of tearing yourself down. It's about clarity. You can't fix what you refuse to see. By facing the hard truths the mirror shows, you gain the awareness you need to make changes that matter. It's not always pleasant to admit that you didn't prepare enough for a meeting, that you let your energy drop during a project, or that you avoided a tough decision because it was uncomfortable. But owning those moments is what allows you to correct them. Leaders who embrace this honesty grow faster because they stop living in denial. They use what they see in the mirror as fuel to improve, not as a reason to quit. That reflection becomes a measuring stick, helping them track their progress over time and see how far they've come. The willingness to face hard truths is a rare quality, but it's also one of the most valuable. It separates those who just want to look like leaders from those who truly are leaders, because the ones who can face the mirror without flinching are the ones who will keep getting better no matter how high they climb. The culture of any team, organization, or group is a direct reflection of its leader. People don't just follow instructions, they follow examples. If the leader cuts corners, the team will believe that cutting corners is acceptable. If the leader shows up late, others will feel no urgency to be on time. But when the leader embodies discipline, commitment, and integrity, those values begin to spread naturally throughout the group. Culture isn't created by words written on a wall or slogans repeated in meetings. It's shaped by the behavior that is consistently demonstrated from the top down. A leader's habits set the tone for everyone else. If they hold themselves to a high standard, the team will either rise to meet it or feel out of place if they don't. This is why leaders must be intentional about the example they set every single day. They can't expect excellence from others. They're not living it themselves. People notice far more than they listen. They see whether the leader is putting in the work, whether they're prepared, whether they treat people with respect. Over time, Those observations turn into the unspoken rules of the team's culture. This influence works in both directions, positively and negatively. A leader who tolerates mediocrity in themselves will end up leading a team that thinks mediocrity is the norm. But a leader who consistently pushes themselves, even when no one is watching, creates an environment where self-motivation and accountability become part of the group's identity. The energy, focus, and work ethic of a leader are contagious, and people will mirror what they experience. Strong cultures are built when leaders understand that they are always on display. Every decision, every action, every reaction sends a message. If a leader stays calm under pressure, the team learns resilience. If a leader embraces challenges, the team becomes more willing to take risks. If a leader owns their mistakes, the team learns to be honest about theirs. This is why leadership is never just about giving directions. It's about living them. The standards you live by will become the standards your team adopts. When you raise your personal bar, you raise the bar for everyone around you. And that's how lasting culture is formed. Great leaders are shaped in what can be called mirror moments. Those raw, unfiltered times when they are forced to face themselves without distraction or denial. These are the moments when all the noise fades and the leader has to ask the tough questions. Am I really giving my best? Am I living the values I preach? Am I setting the standard I expect from others? These mirror moments are not comfortable. They strip away the titles, the accomplishments, and the outward image, leaving only the truth. And in that truth lies the potential for transformation. For many, these moments come in the middle of a setback or failure. A project collapses, a goal is missed, the team's morale dips, and there's no one else to point to. In that space, a leader either steps into denial or chooses to confront the reality head on. The ones who choose confrontation don't just acknowledge the gap between where they are and where they need to be. They take immediate steps to close it. They use the discomfort as fuel, turning reflection into action. Mirror moments are also powerful because they break the cycle of complacency. Success can sometimes make leaders blind to their own weaknesses. They get comfortable believing their past wins are enough to carry them forward. But when they stop and truly evaluate themselves, they often discover areas where they've been coasting. That realization, though humbling, reignites their hunger to grow. The leaders who embrace these moments don't treat as occasional check-ins. They make them a habit. They regularly pause to reflect, not just when things go wrong, but even when things are going well, to ensure they're still aligned with their vision and values. They see the mirror as a tool for constant calibration, keeping them from drifting off course. What makes mirror moments transformative is that they require humility and courage. Humility to admit you're not yet at your best, and courage to do something about it. They strip away ego, replacing it with a renewed sense of purpose. Leaders who live by this principle understand that improvement is never a one-time event, but an ongoing process, and the mirror is the place where that process always begins. Leaders who wait for perfect conditions before taking action never truly lead. They spend their time planning, predicting, and hoping for the ideal moment. But real leadership is about moving forward, even when things are messy, uncertain, or incomplete. The best leaders understand that there will never be a time when every challenge is solved, every risk is eliminated, and every resource is perfectly aligned. Instead of waiting for the storm to pass, they learn how to navigate through it. They adapt on the move, making adjustments as they go, because they know progress is built through action, not hesitation. This approach requires a mindset shift. Instead of asking, is everything ready? Great leaders ask, what can we do right now with what we have? They recognize that inaction breeds fear, and fear grows stronger the longer you delay. Taking the first step, even if it's imperfect, builds momentum. That momentum inspires the team, proving that challenges can be tackled without having all the answers up front. Acting before conditions are perfect also teaches resilience. Every move you make in an imperfect situation is a lesson in problem solving, resourcefulness, and adaptability. Leaders who step forward in uncertainty develop the skill of thinking on their feet, which makes them stronger for future challenges. Their teams learn to trust that even in chaos, forward movement is possible, and that builds a culture of confidence. Action. Perfection is often an illusion that hides behind fear of failure. Leaders who understand this refuse to let it paralyze them. They know mistakes will happen, but they also know mistakes are not the enemy. Stagnation is. By acting now, they create opportunities to learn and adjust rather than standing still and hoping for a flawless start. The people watching a leader take action in less than perfect circumstances see more than just courage. They see commitment. They see someone willing to shoulder risk and responsibility to move the vision forward. That inspires loyalty and effort because it shows that leadership is not about waiting for comfort, but about embracing challenge. When leaders stop chasing perfection and start taking action, they set a powerful example that progress will always belong to those who begin before they feel completely ready. Followers spend their time waiting for the world to change, but leaders understand that change begins with themselves. They don't sit around hoping for better conditions, fairer circumstances, or more favorable opportunities. Instead, they ask what they can do to become stronger, wiser, and more prepared right now. This mindset separates those who react to life from those who shape it. Leaders take ownership of the fact that if they want a better outcome, they have to become the kind of person capable of producing it. When a leader changes themselves first, everything around them begins to shift. Their thinking becomes sharper, their standards rise, and their actions reflect a higher level of discipline. People notice these changes, and without even being told, they start to adjust their own behavior. This is how influence works. It's less about telling others what to do and more about showing them through your own transformation. Leaders who model growth give permission for others to grow too. This process requires a willingness to face personal weaknesses head on. It's easy to identify what's wrong in others, but it takes humility and courage to admit what needs to be fixed in yourself. Leaders who embrace this truth commit to becoming the example they want others to follow. If they want a culture of excellence, they live excellence. If they want honesty, they practice radical honesty in their own actions. They understand that credibility is built when people can see consistency between a leader's words and their behavior. By changing themselves first, leaders also take control of their influence. They're no longer dependent on external circumstances or waiting for others to take the first step. They create momentum through their own actions, and that momentum spreads. This approach not only inspires those around them, but also builds trust because people follow leaders who are willing to hold themselves to the same or higher standards than everyone else. The power of self-change in leadership is that it's contagious. A leader's growth sets off a chain reaction within their environment. Over time, the entire culture shifts, not because of rules or enforcement, but because people naturally rise to match the standard that's being lived in front of them every day. Real leadership isn't about titles, positions,